I knew I had a topic lined up a few minutes ago. Now I seem to have forgotten it. I think it has to do with the expectations that I've always carried about, what this is all about and what we're actually talking about with all these spiritual traditions and all these different perspectives on, this one thing, this one being, this one life, this one love, this one truth, which I loaded with my expectations. I just pumped it so full of ideas about what it should look like. Not so much what it is in its actuality, because it's indescribable. It's just completely directly what it is, without any way of qualifying it or quantifying it, except to say that it's unconditional love and that it's all pervasive and there is only that. But I mean, that's the absolute kind of recognition that is available right now. Everyone can recognize the absolute authority of that, or the absolute validity of that truth in every moment, and really only this moment. And basically for our intents and purposes as the human species, what's more important is, what does that actually look like in our day-to-day function, our day-to-day lives and how they unfold and what we do with our lives. And basically what I did is I made it very complicated. I added a lot of rules and shoulds and shouldn'ts and what the truth looks like in terms of a human life, an ordinary human existence, what the truth should be like in my life, and what I should and shouldn't do as someone who's interested in the truth, or someone who aspires to that highest truth. So basically I looked for freedom, and I took all of my bondage and all of my rules and ideas about life and reality. So I took my rule book with me to try to find freedom. And in recognizing the truth of being, in meditation or something, to recognize it there, but then to, open my eyes and walk around, just in everyday life. It's amazing how quickly certain ideas creep in about, if you were really free, you wouldn't be doing this. If you were really loving, you would only do these types of things, and you would never speak to somebody in that way. You would have to only be in a certain set, prescribed way. Because basically for me what it feels like is the personality or the ego or whatever, the sense of myself as I think about myself, rather than the actuality of being myself. It tries to sort of usurp the truth and use it for itself. So there's a sense of, I want the truth, but I want to keep it within my frame of reference. I want to have the truth and be able to indulge in my lie as well. I want to know the truth unconditionally. I want the unconditional love. I want to feel as though, I'm bathed in love and it's all joy and it's all pervasive, just bliss or something, or some sort of idealized state which I want for myself, which I want to have in the same way that I have other things, in the same way that I have, my house, and I have, this isn't even my house, to be honest. I still live with my mommy and daddy. But assuming I did have have property of my own, it's kind of the same way. We want to have the truth and have it in the way that makes sense for our perspective on the world at that given time. But what I've just been noticing is that the truth is just ever expansive, and it's like there's a perpetual realization in the functionality of the human being. It's a perpetual unfoldment that defies all of our abilities to pin down rules and regulations and, what ifs and should be's and could haves, and it's this sort of willingness to just allow it to unfold in such a way that is unimpeded by the restrictive component that we so vehemently cling to out of fear of letting go, out of fear of what that love will do to us. What's love going to do to me if I truly allow it to come into my life, if I truly let the unconditional grace flow into every aspect of my life, into my body, into every dark corner of my mind, you know, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen if I truly allow all of that absolute nature to really permeate my relative nature of, you know, of a human, as opposed to the absolute nature of being. So really it's about being human rather than human being. So there's the recognition of the beingness, which is primal and always so and always on and always, it's perpetually the same, and yet it's always more itself in the experience. It's always greater than itself as it unfolds. There's always more to be realized experientially with the truth of being. But what I try to do is I try to absolutize my experience and say my experience is always going to be this way. It's always going to be, you know, free of the ego, and it's always going to be, you know, light and completely blissed out and without any types of hiccups and upheavals and emotions. So basically the main thing I did, and maybe I continue to do, I mean, who knows what could happen, was try to pin down the truth, try to make it into something manageable, something that I can kind of understand, and something that is predictable, which to me doesn't feel like freedom because then I killed it. It's like I killed the specimen I was trying to observe. I was trying to observe and appreciate the beauty of something, but I ended up killing it and dissecting it in a lab, and then wondering, you know, where's the life? I'm dissecting a dead animal or something, and it's like, well, what's the truth of this being? Well, I've killed it. Not that you can really kill the truth of being, but in our experience we can deaden ourselves to it. We can deaden our entire receptivity. We can kind of cut ourselves off from it with concepts. So we build sort of a jailhouse of our own ideas around the truth, you know, which is the arrogance that we can kind of capture it, we can block it from ourselves, and we can contain it in such a way. So that's basically the crux of the issue that I feel on my end anyway, is refusing to just allow the actuality of the truth to really permeate into my entire being, into my body, into my mind, and let it show me what it is, you know, not have to be the one who knows it all and the one who tries to understand it in vain, I must add. It's always been in vain that I've tried to corral the truth or try to make it fit into my systems. So basically that's the completeness right there, is a total allowing of the absolute nature to be what it is in the experience of my day-to-day life. It's the absolute nature of beingness that is permeating into my experience, whether I like it or not. It's just the way it is, it's just how reality is. It's not like, it's not by force, it's just there. That's all there is. That's the only reality there is. So even my attempt to evade it is contained in it, is allowed by it. So we're really looking at not only an inevitability, we're looking at an is. We could say the inevitability is the recognition of it, and the isness is it, is that it already is. But in terms of a spiritual seeker, we could say there's an inevitability about recognizing this, and an inevitability about fully embracing and cooperating with it, as opposed to half measures and, you know, dancing around the issue and kind of playing it safe around the edge of the deep end, or staying in the shallow end and not venturing into deeper waters, not allowing ourselves to be fully immersed in the absolute grace of grace, the absolute love of love. It's just such a, you know, it's words fail, and these words fail. So it's just kind of it's just for fun. And yet, part of the fun is saving our race from certain destruction if this isn't recognized by more apparent individuals. Because we won't live very much longer if the majority of people continue to evade the obvious. And that's just a sense I have. I'm not trying to be like a doomsday prophet, but there's a definite urgency. It's like an emergency. It's emerging, and it's an emergency in the sense that it's urgent, because there's no time. There's no time left. There never was any time. But in terms of the relative unfoldment, there's no time to waste in terms of letting ourselves be lived by the truth itself. And that's it. Thank you very much, and much love to everybody who is nobody. Thank you.